Ah, there it is.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So I'm just recording this so you know how to do this later and you can refer back to this too. I'll put this on a YouTube private link for you. But so everyone's got that QR code you can see up on the screen right there. Three of us are in the class. We're just about to have a fourth. Continue anonymously. Keep screen awake. Okay, so I think everybody but Nate is connected right now. If you want to, Nate, you could, kind of do it along with us,
Yeah,
or
one.
you can just run the class. Either way. And when you're ready, Nate, I'll walk you through selecting a scenario here. So select scenario, and then I would use the filter by tag. I'd like to probably find something that is below the search box. There's something that says filter by tag. Just click on that. If you guys want to do vehicle stop or DUI, because that might be more common for highway patrol, we can do that. Or if there's any other category you'd like to do, we can do that. But I'll let you pick from one of the categories there, and it'll filter how you like, and we can just go from there. So any one of these scenarios is some kind of use of force. And you've got a little bit of a brief icon set to the right that tells you the kind of categories. So that one you just have your mouse over now. That's got some tactical elements, some use of force is the gun. The fingers crossed is kinesic interview training. So, but every single one of those ones that you filtered are use of force scenarios. So you can pick any one of them, and we can go in and do it. Is there audio?
Yeah. So like, at this point here, I would basically just read the prompt on the screen to
You
the
don't even
other.
have to. Usually, I mean, if there's sound on your computer playing right now, it should have read that. Did you hear it on your end, or was it?
Accident.
There
One
it
of the
is.
vehicles has fled the scene. You are taking a witness statement.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question. Are these little markers right here where the questions are pop up and generate? Okay, so you thought he was turning around coming back his head. You think he was headed that way when he hit him? I'm sorry. I was sleeping. People were driving around, parking in front of my house, like driving. I can't even get no sleep.
Do you have the sound playing, Nate?
Did you hear it the first time?
We heard like towards the end when you turn on the sound, but not now.
Oh, I
What
never.
behavior should you pay
Oh,
attention to
There we
that the
go.
male is exhibiting? Select all that apply.
I think it
Aggressive,
might just be going a little late.
agitated, depressive statements.
So after everybody's made their choices, Nate, if you want to, show the results, that's that top right corner, that button there. So you can kind of read in the class who's noticing what, right? Everybody here on the class noticed three out of four of us noticed he was aggressive. Half of us noticed he was agitated. One of us said he was making depressive statements, right? And so that explanation is below right there, just in terms of something you notice about that person.
okay.
When you went outside running around, I'm on Linwood. They coming around, driving around, circling around. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Nobody's outside. I don't come outside. Relax. Fuck, man. I don't know what's going on. No, man, fuck that. Fuck that. What? This individual is clearly agitated and making aggressive statements. At this point, should you continue with investigation, call for backup, handcuff the individual?
All right, now I need to know, has Lawrence seen this video too?
No.
Okay, all right. Now we're going to put you to the real test.
Didn't realize I would have checked that all that apply again.
All right, so Professor Wells tells us everybody in the class called for backup. Right answer. We can move on.
You get fucked up. You're an accident. My fucking car, man.
calming down.
Step back.
No, I'm not stepping back.
Step
No,
back.
I'm stepping back. I'm
Step
not
back.
stepping back. This is my fucking car.
It's an accident.
No, it's my fucking car. You act like you don't care.
I'm trying to gather information so I can take the report for you, sir. You need to calm down a little bit. I don't know which.
The motorist has been aggressive towards you. At this point, what action should you take? Select all that apply. Handcuff. Ask the motorist to take his hands out of his pockets. Wait for backup before taking any further action.
I think you got one holdout in class. I don't know if it's you, Nate. Who's all right, but okay. All right, one holdout out there. All right, let's see what we got. Maybe one of us isn't connected. No, I don't know. But okay, so you got a breakdown there. You can discuss, whether you handcuff, whether you don't. We could change that to be the right answer in that particular moment, or we could talk about that with the class at that moment. What would you do in that? Let's say you're running this class, Nate, and these are the responses you had. Let's assume these are the right answers, the ones checked, right? Instead of getting into, well, I would have done X. What would you do if we were the students? What would you do next?
Well, kind of like what Lawrence was talking about earlier, the why they answer or what they select is really the most important.
Mhm.
Like where you selected the paramedic earlier for some reason. Like I think what he was wanting to ask was, are we able to see who selected that so that a way we can say, hey, Cadet Hughes, why did you select the paramedic as maybe an issue? And he says, well, I don't know. He's wearing a blue shirt and I don't like blue shirts. Like we need to be able to address that.
Yeah, exactly.
But if I was teaching this class and these are the answers that popped up, first thing I would ask is, hey, what's your legal authority to do so and why? Obviously, I maybe reword the question a little bit where it says ask the motorist to take his hands out of his pockets. Honestly, I guess it's probably as good as it gets because that's the first thing that we need to be able to see is their hands. Probably if asking them questions as is to why and what legal grounds do you have to do so based off of your answers.
Right. That's great. You could ask like 3/4 of the class what legal authority they had at that moment to handcuff, right? Like that's a good question to ask at that moment. Or if whether a tactical decision, whether just waiting for backup, 50% of the class why they chose that versus half not. So those are great ideas for ways to do it. And you've got the explanation as it's written down there at the bottom is what's there right now, but you can modify that just like you can modify any kind of wording, ask the motorist to take his hands out of his pockets or however you'd want that to be phrased.
Okay.
You're going to continue there to keep going.
So hold on, Nate. And so what I was going to add to that is
you want to hit the pause button. You want to hit the pause button, Nate. That'll pause it right there. What was that, Chris?
Nate,
sorry.
What I was gonna say in that scenario, like giving them the why, but also giving them the different authorities that we do have, and especially yourself, you're a DT instructor anyways. So you could absolutely talk about the pre-assault indicators, the aggressive approach.
Right.
And this
the hands.
The hands, the bald fists, the stiffness of his body, everything that you see, you could say, look, this is what I see, and this is why in Graham Connor, it says that we can do this. This is an option for you. And then at that point in the interaction, when you pause it, when you're going over their answers, you could say, look, this is the authority we actually have right there. So it's a lot, and and I don't know that every time we would need to know the exact person who said that. You would just have to draw out that whoever said this, because it's a learning lab scenario if it's an entire classroom, because everybody gets to hear the answer to the test basically, and they get the benefit from the question that wasn't asked.
Hey, Lieutenant.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, Jared.
The only thing that I would say I would be concerned about with not knowing who's answering these is if you have the guy that's in the back that's falling asleep and doesn't really care to participate, and he's just tapping an answer to go, knowing that there's no way for us to quiz him or her.
Consequence. Yeah, there's going to be some consequences for that because this when we do this type of training, they're going to be on point, told up front. This is and you're right, Jared. If they're half-assing this to science, junk in, junk out because
Right.
there's a lot of brain activity going on with this, and this is what we're trying to measure, and we need him paying attention to get the desired result.
Yeah, exactly. That would just be my concern because this would be beneficial to them. But if we have the guy that does not care, then we have no way of actually calling that one out.
Well, but we can set it up where it's not anonymous, and then if the guy doesn't care, we're probably going to see it before this, and we can address that.
Yeah, I think that's something that's easily handled with the one-on-one accounts, Chris. And in that case, everybody's logging in, and you'll see if they're not doing it. I mean, we have, in my experience with law enforcement, that kind of like truancy is a lot less of an issue. I get some 16-year-old hotshot baseball players every once in a while who, oh, I don't need to do this. I know how to hit. But generally in law enforcement, I haven't seen it yet. But if you do have a case like that, you have someone in class, like you're saying, Jared, who's just like, doing kind of check the box type training and not really actually paying attention. You'll start to see it very easily in terms of like how quickly or late you'll see some responses. I don't know if you know when Nate's running it right now, you'll see when like everybody's like when that number updates for how many people have answered, you kind of know when the answering is happening in class. And at some point, and much faster when you have the one-on-one accounts, you'll know right away whether somebody's messing around or not. It's really quick. Hi, Professor Wells.
So this auto delay is kind of on its own.
Yeah, I think it
just
might
you
be
know,
because you might be on a cellular Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Probable cause to arrest. Reasonable suspicion to stop/handcuff and detain. Lawful authority to use deadly physical force.
All right, so everybody's answered pretty quickly. All right, and everyone says, yeah, we have probable cause. The guy just tried to steal the woman's purse for no reason.
Shit, bitch! Flip over on your back now! On your back now! On your back! Kill me then! No! On your back! Kill me, bitch! No! Kill me! Kill me! The fuck? I need to get straight! I don't care! Kill me! On the ground! Fucking kill me! Now! Give me a fucking kill, bitch! On the ground now! On the ground now! Oh shit! On the ground now! We're fucking killed. Fuck all that. On the ground. Gun. We're killed. On the ground. Fucking gun. We're on the ground now.
So again, I think the delay here in the audio, if you're on like cellular. So next time we'll have Jared run it on a landline kind of connection. So, at this point, yeah, there we go.
Point. Select all that apply. Continue to back up. Deploy taser. Use deadly physical force.
It looks like almost everybody's replied. Okay, now everybody has. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was about 14 seconds into the countdown that the 5th person in the class. So Jared, if you've got that person in class who's snoozing at the back, that would be a great way to see it right there. In this case, I think I saw Chris snoozing a bit. So
Could be.
so now you get a pretty good layout, who decided what, and you can continue from there.
The man was then handcuffed and detained.
There you go, your first class, Professor Wells. Pretty good. So, and you guys keep in mind that he is doing this on cellular data sitting in the car right now, right? So yes, it's possible to run it. Yes, we could all like see the decisions, see what was on screen. Let's see how we did as a class. So, Nate, can you click on check for results? So how did we do by use of force? You want to, or that's constitutional policing. We were 100%. If you click on any one of those, so if you want to click on that one, we had 5 total answers across the class in that category, and we are all constitutional policing experts. In the suicide by cop category, though, which you have your mouse on right now, of the 5 possible answers across the class, we had 2 of them were right. So you can kind of get a read from your class, right, in terms of how well you're doing in a particular topic area. That'll inform what you're doing next with them in role playing, what you're doing with them next in E-Train, that would inform what you're doing with them next in a variety of ways, and particularly if they are doing the one-on-one training, right? So Jared, when you want to be able to track, the guy who's trying to like just do check the box and sleep it off in the back of the class, you can actually bring up their specific information and talk about it, right? Or you could go through the video. Let's say you guys go through use of force in week 2 of the academy, right? And then on Friday of that week, you assign 2 scenarios, both of which have a use of force component to it, but they've got all these other ones that you guys see on screen: constitutional policing, suicide by cop, other things. And then you can look on Monday. Everybody comes back in class on Monday. Put the video up on the screen, just like kind of similar interface to what Nate's been showing us right here. And then, each one of those questions pops up. And rather than them answering live like we're doing right now, you would know what they answered when they did it over the weekend since Friday, when you assign that as homework, right? So that's another way of being able to measure and evaluate what they're deciding in the amount of time that they have to decide. That's exactly the kind of stuff Chris was talking about earlier with, it's really about like, how are they deciding in the moment? It's not really about those specifics about, well, we shouldn't have gotten it to that point. It's more about, if this is the situation we have and this is what we see and this is what we hear, how are we deciding in that particular moment? And that gives you guys as the instructors, fundamental insight into how your recruits are absorbing and acting on the information that you're delivering to them. So, Nate, how did that go for you running it? Any observations that you want to share?
No, fairly simple.
Pretty simple, right? And that's one of the things that we were at NAFTO, a week and a half ago. I met with another department that is been saddled with virtual reality setup that, every time they open it up, it doesn't work, it doesn't load, it's kind of difficult, right? And so that's something that's, so easy to see the difference of when you do E-Train, right? Everyone's got a laptop or an iPhone that they can interact with this product with, right? And you just ran it right there, Professor Wells. So I'll clap it up for Professor Wells. So, very good and very easy. So you're next, Jared. So maybe not today, but when we get the trial going.
Hey, so one of my questions is, are we restricted to just the videos that you have? Or can we have our videographer record a scenario for us and upload that well-scripted video?
Yes, you can do that very easily. So I remember from looking at Scenario Builder here, this was a previously loaded scenario, right? But your videographer has got something that you really like. You go to upload a new video, you choose the file right here, boom, you're ready to go, right? And so once that video
Awesome.
uploads, it will look kind of like, it'll look like a slimmed down version of this. You won't have all of these other, prompts there, right?
Then we have the ability to go in and add the prompts that we want, correct?
That's correct. Not only add them, but add them at the particular juncture you want, right? You'd be, locked to the particular frame of where you want to be, and you add the prompt right there. So,
I think
yeah,
that'd be really awesome to record one of our basic traffic stops and still be able to break it down for them to see and understand exactly the things that we're looking for, that we train them to look for, but now we can actually measure if they're finding those things on a basic traffic stop
yeah,
the way we want them to look.
yeah. And you'll be surprised. Let me tell you. I mean, you will be very surprised. I mean, we were very surprised when we first started doing this kind of stuff, where you think that your officers are seeing something, right? They're not. Or you think that they've got a particular reason for doing something that you've taught them. Not always the case, right? And that's something that there's really no other way to elicit out that kind of information. I'll tell you guys an interesting story that we had happen. I was just on a radio interview earlier today for a show that focuses on veterans of the Marines, the Army, etc. And as we worked with the Army for the last 8 years at this point as a company, and I've worked with the Army or Defense since 2010, we had a recruit in an academy that he went through the academy. They used E-Train. He was great. I mean, if I showed you like his officer, dashboard numbers, like, what, so when you look at the individual account information, you can identify. I'll use Syracuse because I like talking about them, but you can go to that particular officer's profile, right? Because now you've logged in, that it's Officer 29 who logged in, right? That it's Joe Johnson who logged in, and you can look at his or her capabilities across all these areas. But I knew that his accuracy was good. It was, in this case, this is a few points above the average of the class. In this case, it's about 100 milliseconds faster, 200 milliseconds faster than the average of the class. So we had a recruit who was really good in all these categories, right? But his DUI, this isn't the exact one, but his DUI was like 65% or 55%, like just way below his average for all these other categories, and it was just dragging down his performance overall. And so I talked to his chief about this after he had been through the academy, and I said he was great. We saw that it was better than the class average, faster than the class average. But then we got to his DUI, and it was 55%. And I said, I don't know why, but his DUI was just way lower than everything else, and that was dragging down his vehicle stops too, right? And the chief said to me, he said, that's really interesting because this guy's a good dude, right? He's a Marine vet, and but before he was in law enforcement, he was arrested for a DUI. And so, when he's doing scenarios for DUI, the chief said to me, he says, I have a feeling he's looking at the person sitting in the seat there and going, I'm a good guy, you're a good guy, and just doesn't enforce the law the same way. And so that's a blind spot that we saw with him after finishing the academy. And that created a foundation for us now to transition into FTO, which he's in his 6-month, it's coming towards the end of his 6-month period in the FTO phase, where he continues using this product, which is now knowing that he's got that hole. It's optimizing what the next scenarios are that he sees that prioritize him being able to fill that implicit bias that he has on a DUI, right? He's really good at constitutional. He's really good at use of force, right? But he had this blind spot when it came to DUI, and we found that, right? And we pointed out to the chief, and with that information, we've been able to set up his FTO to fill that hole, knowing that these other areas he's really good at. We don't have to focus on, right? So it's an efficiency, speed up as well in terms of like from your guys' focus, not just in the academy, but then when you push them out into the real world, how that information then is useful to the academy or to the agency they go to if they're coming from outside, or in the case of highway patrol, in terms of when they transition over to the FTO phase. So, all right, so Chris is on the go now. I see that. And everybody else is, I think, good in one spot. So I think that's kind of a good amount of show and tell. And Professor Wells has activated your guys' start to using Classroom this week now. So Chris, how do you want to? What do you want to do next? Because we've talked about, I think it's been great talking with everybody here, meeting Nate, Lawrence, and Jared on this, because they're pointing out. I think they're helping us figure out which of those two options that we sent to you and to Jansen would be the most appropriate. And it sounds like having the one-on-one component is going to be a very important piece. Knowing obviously it's a little more costly than just Classroom alone, but it sounds like it's one of those essential items from what I'm hearing from the assembled.
I agree, and so we could. I think after talking to you last week, there's like two options we could do. We could do a full class, or we could do like a select 10 students. Is that somewhere along those lines?
You want to do
run this off?
Yeah, we had, I think, the two options that we sent you. One was like the Classroom and 10, 10 seats. So if you guys put like 10 in now, 10 others 6 months later, you can, rotate through like that. Or you did, so that was the 10 and Classroom, or the other one was just Classroom and you cover everybody, but you don't have that kind of granularity on, the guys possibly sleeping in the back of the class. But we would have some ways of helping you work with it. So did you want to do, though, instead a Classroom or a 10?
Well, are we talking about for the 1 week trial?
No. For the like the doing it.
So to sell this to the command staff, I think we're going to have to do the 1 week trial first, and then present that to them, because these guys right here that are on with us, whether y'all like it or not, you're going to be presenting to the command staff when we're talking about this, since the captain wasn't able to make it and Angela wasn't able to make it. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll be along with the ride. I can be along for the ride with you guys too.
Oh,
that's all.
100%.
I got busy that day, Lieutenant.
Yeah, because it's going to be an all point sell. Because I'll be honest, like when we did the 2 hour class with you at the conference, I was like, man, I don't know. And then Jansen said, hey, I'm meeting with this guy, and I said, well, I don't want to leave. I'll go down there and talk with him too. And then by the end of our conversation, I was like, okay, yes, we need to move this direction. And then after today too, I think this is something that we need to do the trial with. And then I think that, because when we show up to the command staff to try to sell this, I want to have a fully loaded magazine. And I think that will give us a magazine to say, hey, look, we ran this. It's very simple to run. And we're getting so much diagnostic feedback from it, even just in the 3 or 4 days that we ran it.
Yep.
And I tell you what, the cost comparison is for the next patrol school.